Okay, what's up? It's iCkEdMeL. Welcome back. Feels weird that I know there's people on Twitch listening. A little weird. We are going to be listening to this Nancy Grace podcast that came out tonight, I believe. And it's current. It's up to date. And it's with all the shenanigans that kind of happened today, which I think I still want to clip on YouTube for maybe it's this weekend or some point, because I thought it was really good. They're back and forth fighting. Okay. Notifications did go out. What's it? Sled. And we just finished watching the Dr. Phil episode, and I thought it was pretty decent. It was old though, it was outdated. Watched the old episode. I think it might be good to kind of pull up the timeline as well. Get a little bit of time for people to join in. I forgot to use that timeline earlier. Well, I mean, I think they broke down the timeline today. I don't know if it's different from what that lady, that really nice timeline they posted online. Let me see here. Okay. What's up? Welcome back. I'm back, man. Sled. Got Nancy Grace on deck. Oh no. Well, I don't know what we need to do with the characters now. We could. After 69 witnesses, prosecutors in Alex Murdaugh's double murder trial have rested their case, which I really thought I read it was like 80 something. Once the long holiday weekend is over, the defense will continue to call witnesses. Murdaugh's attorneys called 2 witnesses after the lunch break. Attorneys Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin say they expect their case to take about a week. Which I saw someone in the chat earlier say 1.5, a week and a half. I heard 1 week, but I don't know if they updated that. Key testimony today before the prosecution arrested included new phone data information, including the fact that Alex Murdaugh called 911 roughly 14 seconds after allegedly discovering his wife and son's bodies. Called 911 roughly 14 seconds. So that, I guess that's what the whole back and forth with, because I remember that attorney played, he took out his phone, he's like, I'm gonna do the timer for 20 seconds, and we're all just like stood there like, okay, waiting for this to happen. And so I guess the whole, I thought what that attorney said was like, is it possible within that time frame to check the bodies or pulses or something and then call 911, which I think is pretty subjective, really. The data also showed Maggie Murdaugh's phone moving in the same, so moving at the same time as her husband's vehicle. I didn't realize that either. The data indicated that Murdaugh's vehicle sped up quickly and away from the location where Maggie Murdaugh's phone was found. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for coming through. Appreciate you hanging out here tonight, Friday night. And let's do a little, I guess we'll start. Well, let me do this quick data seal for the people that rewatch the stream. And so we're doing a Valentine's Day special. I think it's 10% off. Click the link. Is the link in the chat? Use the link. Yes, use the link in the chat, in the comment section. I'm going to play a quick little video and then we'll get started. If I could find it right here. Let's see, where are you? There we go. Hopefully this is the right one. I don't know. Queued up, everything's gone now. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see what happens. I don't know which one that is. Your information is being sold by data brokers all the time. It's easy for anybody to look up your information using people search websites. They can find your home address, date of birth, email address, phone number. Dataseal.io is the data removal and monitoring service I trust to remove my information from the internet. Click the link below and use the code 5OFFALL to save 5% off your Dataseal subscription. Okay, so let's get into it. Nancy. I'll have to turn on the volume.
Why not choose your own adventure on the water? With BoatSetter, you can book a boat for a short sail around the bay, a day-long fishing trip, or a week-long island-hopping charter. Book a boat starting at $75 an hour using the simple and easy BoatSetter website and app. Want a captain? Want to do it yourself? Take your pick.
He awarded more than one.
Spell Catherine?
Kath.
Just kidding. It's for every customer.
Get on in the courtrooms here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. What a day in the courtroom. You know, just when you think you can't hear anything else, nothing else can surprise you, then you find out what's happening in the Alex Murdaugh trial. First of all, you learn that the roadside shooting evidence is coming in. What we mean by that is allegations that the double murder defendant, legal heir Alex Murdaugh, agreed with someone, cousin Eddie, Curtis Edward Smith, to shoot him, Murdaugh, in the head for life insurance proceeds. Well, I don't think that was the motive at all. I think the motive for that fake shooting was to make it appear that Maggie and Paul's killer was now after Alex Murdaugh.
Yeah, I thought that too as a possible. Oh no.
Why?
Listen to our cut one. Pierre Murdaugh agreed with someone, cousin Eddie, Curtis Edward Smith, to shoot him, Murdaugh, in the head for life insurance proceeds. Well, I don't think that was the motive at all. I think the motive for that fake shooting was to make it appear that Maggie and Paul's killer was now after Alex Murdaugh, so he couldn't possibly be the killer. That's what it's all about in my mind, but I want you to hear, just as the jury heard it today, take a listen to our cut one.
Did he stop? Did he pull up, you know? He did. And when he pulled up, did you look in his face? I don't think so. I stood close to his car. And? He shot me. He missed and hit me in the very back of the head. Okay. And as a result of being hit in the back of the head, did that have any physical effect on you? It did. What happened? I lost my vision for a little bit. And I'm not sure if it knocked me to the ground or not, but I was disoriented. So your intent was to have him kill you so he could collect his life insurance, right? So my son could. I mean, I knew I was about to lose everything, and I figured he's better off that way than dealing with me.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Oh,
stop
shit.
it. I heard some sniveling there at the end. Just save all the tears and all the snot. And let's stick to the story. Hey, Christine, let me just throw another monkey wrench into this thing. Could you pull up the 911 call where Alex Murdaugh calls from the side of the street after he has been shot by an unknown assailant, who he goes on to say he's a pretty good-looking guy. And he calls 911 to say he's been shot in the head, but his first thing he says, I had a flat. Okay, here, oh, you've got it ready already. Now, I want you to compare this story. Now that he's caught red-handed, even his own brother calls detectives to say something is way wrong with this story. This is the version he finally tells SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. But this is what he told 911. Listen.
Okay, what's going on? I got a flat tire, and I stopped, and somebody stopped to help me. And when I turned my back, they tried to shoot me. Oh, okay. Were you shot? Yes, but I mean, I'm okay. You shot where? Where were you shot at? Huh? Did they actually shoot you or they tried to shoot you? They shot me.
Okay, he goes on to talk about how he had a flat tire and he was trying to fix the tire, and along comes a guy out of nowhere and shoots him in the head. Listen to Alex Murdaugh lie. Man, this guy can lie like a rug. Dale Carson, you're the high-profile defense attorney out of Jacksonville, former FBI agent at DaleCarsonLaw.com. What about it? What if you were this defense attorney? Your client is caught lying. Flat out. No way around it, Carson.
Well, what you try to do is keep that evidence out of the jurors' views. And
Would you please stop pretending? The jury's already heard it. No wishing it's not going to come in. It's in.
Right. So it's devastating because it reflects his lack of candor. But of course, anyone who's ever heard a shooting victim make a 911 call, it's nothing like this. So from the very outset, of course, he's suspect.
You know, I want to go to a longtime friend and colleague And this guy's a real hero. Dr. William Moroney joining me. And he's here today to talk about opioid addiction because that is his specialty. But now that you just said that, Del Carson, Dr. Moroney and Dr. Michelle Dupree with us, both pathologists, medical examiners. They've got a curriculum, a CV out the wazoo. Dr. Moroney, come on, you're shot in the head and the first thing you say to 911 is, hey, I had a flat tire. Really?
Well, I think there's a significant lack of dramatic energy and crisis in his voice. If people who are shot immediately go into flight or fight, and he just doesn't have it. Now, if he's really a substance use disorder individual, he may be stoned on opiates when he's saying this. We have to explore that later in the show, but that would be the only explanation. Otherwise, there's just not enough crisis in his voice.
You know, Moroni, I thought you were going to back me up totally, and there you go, being a medical doctor again, dadgummit. Dr. Michelle Dupree, that what Moroni just said brings to mind a real-life moment. I was tromping through the very, very congested inner-city housing complex and looking for a witness in a triple homicide case. And it was hot and bright outside in Atlanta. And I was looking through a screen door into a dark apartment. And I couldn't really see in there. The first thing I saw was a shotgun barrel about less than a foot from my face, pointed right at me. I remember that moment, that frozen moment. But then my investigator, Ernest, was with me, and he grabbed me, we both went diving off the porch. So that moment that you see a gun pointing at you is something you never forget. So what do you make of him calling him, hey, have a flat tire?
Nancy, again, this was such a hoax. Anybody who has, like you said, had a gun pointed at them, or certainly anyone who has actually been shot, regardless of how minor it may be, I don't think it's going to act so calm, cool, and collected. You know,
That's the thing. So I'll stop here for a second, and I have to get up for a minute in a second. But the whole thing of like how people would react, it's really so subjective. And we talked about this last night when we watched the Dr. Phil episode, and on Twitch there was some back and forth, and Mo and somebody else was talking, and it's really hard to say how some people would act, because like I remember when my mother told me about my father passing away and that he unalived himself and stuff like that. I just sat there and I was like, okay, like I didn't process things. And this is completely different from this situation where I don't know how I would react to seeing your family, like brains and stuff, all this stuff. But I'm somebody that typically keeps calm in like crazy ass situations. Usually, like I'll try to keep calm, try to keep my composure. I might not react how people are thinking I'm going to react, or like it depends. It depends. And so, I lost my thought because I was thinking there was another point I wanted to make with the shock thing.
Should be
Fire.
Nancy.
Went diving off the porch. So that moment that you see a gun point.
Well, that's the other thing. So the other thing too is that I've had a gun pointed at me one time that I know of anyway, and actually shot up in the air. This was the acid story that I told, and I mean I was on substances that night. But I had always thought that if I had a gun pointed at me, just, I don't know, I'd freeze, I'd be frozen, I'd be scared, I wouldn't know what to do, I'd be shocked. In this instance, and I don't know, you know, because I was on stuff, when that person came out with a gun, I freaked out and I just hauled ass. I just fucking ran. Just boom. I didn't scream. I didn't go, ah! I just hauled ass. And as I was running, I heard a shot. I think the person like shot it in the air, I'm thinking. So, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say how anybody would react when you had a gun. You have other people that kick into action. You have that thing where the shooter that went and shot all those people in the one dancing studio goes to the other studio, and this guy, you know, pretty small stature guy, or normal stature maybe, fights this guy back that's holding this gun and like, you know, wrestles with the gun. So like people just react differently to certain situations.
at you is something you never forget. So what do you make of him calling you, hey, have a flat tire?
Nancy, again, this was such a hoax.
Well,
anybody
the roadside thing is bullshit for sure. For sure.
Who has, like you said, had a gun pointed at them, or certainly anyone who has actually been shot, regardless of how minor it may be, I don't think it's going to act so calm, cool, and collected. You know, he should be upset, for one thing, and I don't think I'd be talking about my flat tire. I'd be wanting to get some help out there, and help right now.
I've taken these calls before, I will just tell you, and it's clear that if you're shot, you're going to be worrying that you're going to die, because no one knows where the round was.
Well, that's true. Like that, I mean, I don't know. It was super, yeah, like got shot. Are you gonna need an ambulance? Yeah, I can't drive. I'm bleeding. Yeah, I guess.
It goes into you.
And he didn't know if the guy was going to come back. Well, everybody and their sister knows that this is a big fat lie, including Murdaugh's own brother who called detectives. So, you know, the jig is up. Take a listen to our cut 4.
I told him that things were getting ready to get really bad, and that I would be better off not here. And I asked him to shoot me. I mean, I think at first he was a little surprised, but then he said, okay. What kind of weapon did you get him? A revolver pistol. What caliber? 38. He followed me into town. To where? To over where I stopped by the Sunoco gas station. I told him to follow me out, and that I would make a flat tire, and he would go past me and turn around and come back and do it. I stopped, made my tire flat. How did you make your tire flat? With a knife.
Now joining me, a former homicide detective, has handled hundreds of homicide investigations. Now the star of the Interview Room on YouTube, director of the Cold Case Foundation, Chris McDonough. Chris, thank you for being with us. His credibility is totally shot. Pardon the pun. It's over. Because if he can lie like that to the 911 dispatch, and now he's telling a different story about he bargained with Curtis Edward Smith to shoot him in the head, how can the jury believe anything he says, or his lawyers? What else will he say to save his own skin, Chris?
Great observation, Nancy. I think the statement of the day is some of the best confessions I ever had come from through defense attorneys. And if you listen to that 911 call right away.
That reminded me of the witness. There were so many good moments today that I really hope I can clip, have time to, because there was that one point where the witness was like, I've gotten some of the best confessions from defense attorneys, something like that. And he's like, well, not me. And he's like, oh, well, I actually did, or some shit like that. That was really good.
The first thing that sticks out is he says, they shot me. Who's they? Now all of a sudden it's him. So, his lying started right from the get-go on that call, but we all know, and we're hearing more and more evidence come to the plate, that it started long before this fake shooting.
And, Dale Carson, you're intimately familiar with these facts because we've been going over and over them every day, every inch of the way in the development of the evidence. I didn't even catch that until McDonough pointed it out. That's why I believe he was still trying to fabricate a phantom killer, the same killer that killed Maggie and Paul, now after him.
Well, that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to create that narrative and support it. I don't know whether he's addicted to opiates or not, but of course that would affect adversely his ability to maintain a lie and a structure to his lying, which opens up the door for all of this investigative activity. And Chris is absolutely right. They to he. It's rather obvious from the very beginning. It's like his saying seen when he's talking to the investigators about his dead wife and son. Those are not words you would ordinarily use.
Going back to school as a working adult doesn't mean you have to sacrifice a high-quality education. Purdue University, ranked as a top 10 public university in the U.S. by the Wall Street Journal, took its innovative thinking to a new level when it created Purdue Global for working adults. Earn your degree online and advance your career with the name students and employers trust. An accredited university, Purdue Global has already awarded more than 1 million credits for prior learning, helping students reach their goals faster. With your college or work experience, you could finish your degree in just 2 years and save nearly half the cost of your bachelor's. Purdue believes every student should have access to the education you need to get ahead, which is why Purdue Global offers more than 175 affordable program options. You'll learn from faculty members who are industry experts and have the freedom to complete classes online on your schedule. Get ready to take your next giant leap. See how close you are to finishing your degree at purdueglobal.edu. That's purdueglobal.edu.
Owning a boat is great, but what's better than that? Renting a boat whenever you want to enjoy the water. With BoatSetter, you can rent a boat for just $75 an hour. Whether it's a quick sail around the bay or a week-long charter, BoatSetter has options for everyone and every budget. Just search and book instantly from our website or app. No boating experience is necessary. Book with or without a captain. And with insurance coverage through Geico, you can set sail with peace of mind. Start planning your next water adventure at boatsetter.com today.
Mom, Dad, let's talk.
I know right now I'm all about juice boxes and chasing the dog.
But sooner than you think, I'm out of here.
I want to go to college, out of state.
Or start a business in an industry that doesn't even exist yet.
My allowance ain't gonna cut it. Ooh, sorry I said ain't.
So, while I'm at my most adorable, I'm asking you to download the YouNest app and start saving for my future.
The YouNest app puts smart investing tools right in the palm of your hand. And the funds in your YouNest account can be used for anything, from college tuition to building a nest egg to use for other things for your kids. Plus, you can grow your YouNest account by making purchases from top brands like Disney Plus and DoorDash. Or share a YouNest gifting link so friends and family can help.
Bone in his body, talking about giving his surviving son Buster the life insurance benefits. I don't know that I even believe that, but I want you to hear our cut 3 where he admits to the arranged shooting.
If you tell us the truth, I just want to make sure Ryan understands.
No, I did not tell anybody the truth until, was it yesterday? Until yesterday afternoon. I've been really sick. It's really the first day where I had any coherent thought process, and I sincerely apologize again for lying to y'all about everything that I did. Basically, the way I told you it happened is kind of how it happened, except it was arranged by me.
Why weren't you truthful with us when this initially happened?
I don't have a good reason. I was in a bad place.
Okay, Dr. Moroney, opioid expert, author of American Narcan, naloxone, and heroin fentanyl-associated mortality. He's a medical examiner, a toxicologist, a pathologist, and he's been in 100 courtrooms or more. Dr. Moroney, just a moment. Did you hear everything he just said? I don't have time to dissect it on the blackboard like the English teacher, but listen, I sincerely apologize again for lying to y'all about everything I did. I mean, it's lie after lie after lie, and now he wants the jury to believe his cockamamie story.
Oh, shit.
And I didn't have a good reason for lying. I was in a bad way. Wait for it, Dr. Moroney. I want you to hear about his drug habit in our cut 2.
Eddie Smith is the primary person who...
So there's some people that believe that maybe he was spending $50K a week on perks and oxys and shit like that. Some people are saying that maybe, well, for the people that, what are the possible theories as far as believability in him popping $50K worth of oxys a week? Are people pretty much in agreement that that's not plausible, or there's some people that think maybe it's possible? And if it is plausible, then what is it? Is he laundering some stuff, or is he trying to make money disappear, bullshitting? I mean, they found the pills today, right? The Maggie found some pills, and maybe that corroborates his addiction story.
Could have been the launderer.
I feel like, I don't know. Not possible.
If Maggie and Paul found the pills and connected him to it, maybe that could have outed all the other people selling everything.
What was the name of that gang? Southern Boys?
Sandhill game?
Sandhill.
The Cornbread Mafia?
Okay. I think she found enough pills that nobody was distributing.
I don't know. I never found pills. My ex always snorted them.
Yeah.
He never had any extra. It would always went into the body as soon as he got them. So I don't know how he found.
Lotus said 50K a week is 90 pills a day.
Baby boy was confronting him with that. I think he was distributing.
However, if a confrontation was so bad a month prior, why didn't anything happen a month prior?
Somebody say he had a plug. The Cowboys gang. When they say cowboy gang, are they referring to the cocaine cowboys, that story, or no? Or is it some other like southern cowboy, like a smaller?
No clue.
Just real quick too, Britt Flip, thank you for the 9-month membership. Says, hey, yeah, hey, and then also thank you, J to the B. Thank you for the gifting the sub, and thank you for all the love you guys are giving me on Twitch earlier. Appreciate that. Okay, let's keep going.
No, I really think Maggie was just getting a clue.
Which is what?
I think Maggie was just catching on.
Okay. All right.
Maggie. Years, and some weeks you would give him how much money for pills? We had weeks where there would be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000.
How would you pay him?
In cash, and mostly in checks, but in some cash too.
Okay, and what accounts would those checks come from?
The vast majority of them would come from the Bank of America account, but there would also be some funds that would come from the Palmetto State account.
And whose accounts are those?
Mine. The Bank of America accounts are in my name. And then there's another account there that I created that's a DBA. That's my name, DBA Forge.
Did you pay Curtis any money for this?
No, sir.
You didn't pay him anything, so you just asked of a favor and he did it?
Yes, sir.
That was odd to me too, that whole, we're just going to hook it up and kill you.
Okay, Dr. Moroni, I read you his qualifications, but do you know this man, in addition to help raising his family, has created money for a traveling science lab to help opioid addicted people all across the country? He's the expert. Okay, a $50,000 a week opioid habit. Everybody on social media says that's not possible. $50,000 a week for some pills?
Here's the truth. In America, we do have social disparities, but one of those disparities is the drug addiction that you can see in the upper class and people of means. They pay a lot of money to make sure that they don't get fake pills. Ordinarily, $1,000 a day habit, we can go with that. I can believe that. $1,000, $2,000 a day. Yeah, we've seen that. And the average person that has substance use disorder, that has that kind of habit, they're going to be stealing, they're going to be selling their body. You just don't have that kind of money. But in people of means, he wants to make sure he doesn't get fake fentanyl pills to die. And he is paying extra money. Now, it is ridiculous, but he can pay that because what was described in his habit was oxycodone 30 milligrams, and we don't know how many he's taking, but the average person on the street, when they were addicted, when these pills flooded the street, 80 milligrams cost $80 to $100, and you paid $1 a milligram. And I have seen in our addiction setting, our clinic, people addicted to 10 to 15 pills a day. Let's say 12 is a good average at 80 milligrams. That's 960 milligrams a day, and you pay $1 a milligram to the drug dealer for these pills. Everybody on the street takes what they can get. But when you're a person of means, say 12 is a good, and you paid $1 a milligram, And I have seen in our addiction setting, our clinic, people addicted to 10 to 15 pills a day. Let's say 12 is a good average at 80 milligrams. That's 960 milligrams a day, and you pay $1 a milligram to the drug dealer for these pills. Everybody on the
and that still doesn't come anywhere near close to 50K. That's 6,720.
Street takes what they can get. But when you're a person of means and you can shell out more money, you better make sure that you're not taking fentanyl. And fake fentanyl pills are everywhere. So is he actually getting that, $40,000, $50,000 a week for the actual drugs? No, he's paying for the drugs, and he's paying a ridiculous amount of insurance to make sure he doesn't end up.
How does he know that? He's just talking off the top of his head. He's just assuming that. So he's paying. Let's say it was an average of the regular person, if they're taking that many, 12 at 80 milligrams, 6,720 for the week. Hold on. 6,720. He's taking almost 8 times the amount just for safety. I just don't buy it. I don't know.
With fake pills. That's the way I interpret this. And the other thing he has to worry about is he taking these and he's destroying his liver. If it's fake stuff, you don't know what's in it.
Okay, wait, just let me stop you right there. Just right there, Moroni. I am not concerned today about Alex Murdaugh's liver. I'm concerned about Maggie and Paul shot up on the floor of a dog kennel. I don't want to hear about his liver. But I can tell you this much. If this is somehow going to be used with the jury to make them feel sorry for Alex Murdaugh and his $50,000 a week drug habit, it ain't working. That is not going to work. As a matter of fact, isn't it true, Chris McDonough, that when you are looking at a host of potential suspects, if you pick the nut or the drug addict, you're going to find the right one? Because all of his so-called enemies are not going to take a 12 gauge and go gun down his wife and son. He is the one thinking out of his mind on opioids. He is the one whose world is crashing down around him. And typically, I would feel badly for someone like that and try to help them through their crisis, get back on their feet. But he murdered 2 people, according to the state. And when you're looking at choices of candidates, he stands out. Chris McDonough.
Bruh, whoever, let's say allegedly, like he was really buying those drugs for that amount, man, somebody had a major come up. This guy was an easy lick. Damn, 50 G's. Woo.
You know how passionate she was about I don't care about his liver? Is she that passionate about finding out the temperature of the liver of Paul and Maggie?
Wait. You talking about Nancy because of the doc?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wonder if she's going to talk about it. I don't know. I wonder if they're going to address that. I don't know.
But wasn't Cousin Eddie the dealer?
That's what they're saying. They're saying Cousin Eddie is the dealer. Cousin Eddie's denying it, but I think he has drug charges, doesn't he? Homeboy got drug charges?
Cousin Eddie is not making no 50K a week. I'm sorry.
We don't know what he's doing with them.
I think he's stashing money away, or possibly being blackmailed, or maybe covering up the murder for what's that guy's name? The one that was killed in 2015, Steven.
Yeah. Jerry.
We don't talk about things that are not fact.
Oh, you don't know about that?
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Mo's
but Mo's a juror, so if it's not in the trial in front of the jury, we don't discuss that, KK. I know you weren't around, so you don't know.
Joe's our virtual AI juror. But Mo, okay, make that point. I didn't really even understand what the Nancy Racing delivered with the drugs, and you're associating it with the.
No, she just went off and I don't care about the temperature or I don't care about Alex's liver. I care about Paul and Maggie. And it's okay, but are you that Are you that passionate about caring about Paul and Maggie's liver temperature? Because
But I mean, if he was
nobody
doing
took
that
their
kind of drug
temperature.
habit, he'd be in liver failure, and that's visible.
Well, you don't
He'd be severely jaundiced.
the temperature. You just got to put your hand under the armpit. Don't you know?
Tickle them to see if they're alive.
That whole armpit shit, well, we can leave that for the end. I had gotten into it with so many people today about the armpit shit.
I don't understand that at all. Was he wearing
Armpit shit.
gloves?
But at the end of the day, the time difference, I guess, isn't that much. I don't even know if we should get into it now. Wait till later.
Right.
But he came up with the time of death of 9 p.m. Let's save it for later. Let's get through the podcast and we'll hit all the different points later because I feel like I could. And at the end of the day, I don't know that there's even much of a difference as far as time really between 9 p.m.
Does a glove take
close,
off 30
though.
minutes? Does a glove take off 30 minutes?
I just don't think it's an accurate measurement of temperature or time of death. That just blows my mind. The hand on the armpit.
It's crazy, but weirdly, he was kind of accurate. That's kind of the crazy part.
Oh, he originally
if you believe the
8:30.
prosecution.
He said 8:30 to 10.
No, he said
on
9.
the death certificate, he said 9.
Oh,
And
they whittled him down to 9.
He said, I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if these people, because they're paid, like they're all paid, but like these are people not from the state that are like paid by the defense. I just wouldn't be surprised if these people would cater to whatever answer you want them to kind of give. I just don't understand how you could, when the increments are so small between 1 and 2 degrees per hour in somebody's death, that you're just gonna whiff your hand under the armpit and be like, okay, there's 6 degrees difference from the normal 98 point whatever it is.
Without gloves.
And I would just think like it's so easy to have a thermometer, even if you're gonna use the armpit or whatever else. I don't get that.
Well, and it's like, why is it anal thermometer the only? I mean, it's like they have one. I watched CSI. You just put it in the liver, like it's the easy. And it's like, no, it's either armpit or anal thermometer. Those are the only two options.
Anal is the most accurate, they say, though, for sure. Anal is the most accurate, but I understand why he didn't do that. I get that. Like, he's going to a scene, there's bodies there, and also, I don't know, maybe the influence, the power of these people.
Your chat is funny. They're saying armpit temps and neck hugs. Okay, sorry.
All right, let's keep rolling then. And with the defense today too, I felt like the defense just pulled whoever they could scramble for today because nobody knew when the hell the state was going to be done, and they were already kind of trying to get a date and they couldn't, and so I think they just had whoever was available and whoever wasn't going to take a long testimony because they didn't want to get stuck over the weekend. So, but all right.
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. And in fact, if we really think through this, right, if he does have the means, most of those types of individuals are going to docs, who are writing bad scripts, right? And those scripts are multiplied, times 100 for opioids. They're not going to drug dealers and asking, hey, do you take checks, for my drug addiction? And, you and I both know, and Dale and everybody else on this panel knows that when these things go down like this, if it's a drug hit, type of connection, it's certainly not going to be tied together with checks. And I think that was, again, another mistake.
Guys, I'm hearing in my ear that we are just now being...
If Magic Cheryl were here, she'd be asking this simple question. Where's Alex Murdaugh's withdrawal? Where is it? I don't see it at all. During the entire course of the investigation up to this point, I don't see him on medications to help him out of a massive withdrawal from that continued use of opioids. I mean, there's another big question in my mind as to whether or not he truly was addicted in that strict sense.
Well, also, we know that after he arranged a shooting in the head incident, he did go briefly into a Savannah, I believe it was, hospital, and then an Atlanta rehab very, very briefly, and he's come out as fresh as a daisy. I'm hearing in my ear we are now being joined by Emerson, senior investigative reporter, WCIV, and she's the host of an incredible podcast, Unsolved South Carolina, the Murdaugh Murders, Money, and Mystery. And I believe one of the last things I heard before the judge announced the lunch break was that Murdaugh had arranged for a $600,000 line of credit for the farm.
Nancy, this morning has just been unbelievable testimony coming in from SLED. Basically, we had SLED agents up on the stand with the prosecution sort of giving this condensed timeline of what happened. There's so much to unpack here because there are new details that we're just learning. But the one that you just said, they really came out swinging at the very end, right before the lunch break. They came out to say there were some very, very specific messages that were going back and forth between Alec Murdaugh, his son Paul, as well as Alec Murdaugh and Russell Laffitte, where he reached out to his personal banker, Russell Laffitte, who's already gone up on charges of financial fraud and has already been in federal court on this. And he told Russell, what was it? Let me look. I think it was like literally 2 days, so 4 days before the murders, he reached out to him and said, I need to extend my farm credit $600,000. My dad will sign. How long will it take to turn this around? Is what the text message said. And yeah, that's pretty much what he went out on, along with a couple of pictures of Maggie with her sister and Maggie with the family. That is, of course, we now know that the father of Alec Murdaugh, the father that he's talking about that would sign that loan with him for $600,000, passed away and was on his deathbed on June 7th.
Dr. William Moroney, opioid expert and author of American Narcan. What do opioids do to you? How was he still able to go into the law office and handle matters and arrange $600,000 line of credit increases and carry on seemingly normally?
In the beginning, you become tolerant. And once you become tolerant, if you don't get the opioid, you can't function. You are.
Here's another. I'm kind of looking at. I know I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping in, but looking at Twitter posts and listening to different people's thoughts, because sometimes you hear different things or different perspectives. And so, Avery here posted, says, without putting myself in the position of defending Alec Murdaugh, I'm not sure he should have heard the gunshots. Is as strong as some folks think. They lived on hunting property with guns everywhere. We've heard testimony about Paul and his friends shooting hogs at night. And so this person said here, under it says, defense coroner said time of death is 9 p.m. AM phone is back active at 9:02. So we're supposed to believe that he didn't hear shots or see an intruder or shooter driving off at 9:05. He did it. Oh, Lord. There's no explanation. I mean, even the time of death is still not specific, though. I mean, we don't. And definitely the armpit method, I'm sure it's an estimate. I wouldn't say 9 p.m. on the dot is the time of death. Agree, but State did a decent job making the point to say he would often drive by the kennels on his way out to say hello, while also trying to get a hold of Maggie, but conveniently didn't make that 20-second detour. I don't know. Oh no, what happened?
Sick. So the euphoria, the what we call the buzz or the getting high, it's really not part of the long-term part of his disease. If his addiction is real, he needs the opioids to function at a normal level, because without him, he'll be vomiting, he'll be running to the bathroom, he can't breathe, he'll have panic attacks, he'll be draining from every hole in his body with some kind of fluid, and that is withdrawal. So you need to continue increasing the dose. And it was demonstrated that he was probably on OxyContin 30s. Well, you start on 1 or 2 or 3, and you end up on 12 or 15, and maybe 20. What you need to understand is, if this is real and it's ongoing, he needed those opioids to function. And once he went to rehab, the top 5 rehabs in Savannah, 3 of the 5 use something called medication-assisted treatment. They continue a safe FDA-approved opioid called buprenorphine, and that allows you to continue functioning. So he needed higher doses to stay functioning. The euphoria is gone. It's just to keep from getting sick. But what he has, and what we don't see happen when people get this tolerance, is the clarity of thought still isn't there, because now he has impaired functioning, impaired thinking, that the opioid is part of the focus, and if I don't get it, I'm not going to be able to function. So his higher level functions, which could be morals, which could be ethics, which could be time management, higher thinking, that begins to suffer. So that's how he gets to such high doses, and that's how that works. He needed it to function. If this is real substance use disorder, he would have driven his tolerance up.
I'm just still having a hard time taking in a $50,000 a week drug addiction on pills.
Well, he's not that smart.
It seems fantastical to me. What?
He's not that smart. He overpaid for that. Or that's as big a lie as some of the other things. $50,000 a week, maybe 2, maybe 4, maybe 3, but not 50. If he did, he's not that smart.
Guys, also today, car data mapping out Alex Murdaugh's every move in his vehicle the night that Maggie and Paul are murdered. And it seems, I hope you're not too surprised, to contradict his story. But I want to finish about the rehab. Guys, take a listen now to Our Cut 6. A lot of fireworks between lead attorney Harpootlian and the agent, Special Agent Ryan Kelly, on the stand. Listen.
We're having a difficult time here communicating this morning. Did you tell anyone in his family the reason you wanted to see him while he was in rehab was to show him a picture of a truck?
The conversations about the picture of the truck, we obtained the picture of the truck on and around.
Excuse me, if you would just answer yes or no, and then you can explain your answer. Senior Special Agent Kelly.
We knew the truck that Mr. Smith.
I didn't ask you what else you knew. I asked you.
I got to clip that together, man. I might do that this weekend.
Ask the witness to be allowed to complete his answer here.
Mr. Harpootlian, they didn't talk to me about his medical records.
And you didn't ask them, did you?
Did
you ask them?
The testing that was
Did you ask them?
We did not ask to discuss specific aspects of Mr. Murdaugh's medical condition.
Okay. That irritated me no end for the agent to be spoken to that way. Senior Special Agent Kelly. I mean, and Emerson, that had to irritate the jury. Or do I have it backwards?
I think they're starting to understand Attorney Harpootlian's way of handling witnesses. He's got a very gruff, he was barking, like you said. I mean, there was definitely like moments. What he's trying to do is he's setting up that things were not done the way they should have been. This is what they've been using for their whole defense. Now, this is an example of what was going on.
Naloxone, that is Narcan. That's just the generic of the brand. I forget which one's the brand. I think Narcan's the brand name. Naloxone is the generic name. It's the same drug. Suboxone, that is a controlled substance. That's usually what they try to wean people off, I guess. I've seen people. I'm trying to remember what drug it was too. There's another one. I think it's. Do they use morphine? There was some drug that they used to. I thought to try to get people off of narcs in the hospital. I don't know if it's morphine or I'm thinking of something else. Probably thinking of something else.
Methadone.
Methadone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Methadone. Yes. Methadone too. But that shit. I remember we used to give like some pretty big doses to people that were like struggling with drugs and stuff.
So they definitely have you on. My ex had to do methadone because of opioids, and they had to have him on a certain, amount of methadone to counteract his tolerance level. And the problem with the tolerance level and treatment is a lot of the times that's when you get people to OD, because once they're out of treatment and they do that, they relapse, they tend to use the same amount that they thought they needed. And because their system is not tolerating that as much anymore, that's when they unfortunately OD. So people do build up a really big tolerance and require more and more and more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
All right, let's keep rolling.
On with this competency. And he even said, and I don't know if y'all caught this, but they literally had to send the jury out at one point during this very heated exchange with Harpootlian and Agent Kelly, because he was arguing so emphatically that if they really wanted to take it there, he would call for a competency hearing to have one of the doctors brought up from Savannah Memorial Hospital to say whether or not Alec Murdaugh was in any shape to be talking to anybody about anything. But of course, Agent Kelly said, look, we thought he was a victim. We needed to get as much information
But that doesn't
at that moment.
matter.
So the jury was,
That doesn't
this
matter
was first in the
about
morning,
the
Nancy.
evidence.
They were listening.
Competency is a legal issue to be determined by the judge, competency at the time. If it had been ruled Alex Murdaugh was not competent to speak to SLED agents while he was in rehab, that would have been hashed out between the lawyers, not arguing the evidence can't come in front of the jury. That's completely backwards. Guys, listen to our cut 5.
We represented on that call that he was in a detox facility before, when we called you to set up the call in Atlanta, and he was now, and I think we've said on the recording that the doctors indicate he's coherent. He's been through the detox, which is a pretty tough process, and he was willing to talk to you once he was competent to do so. Isn't that correct?
That's the information you relayed to me, yes.
Okay. Do you have any reason to doubt that?
No, sir.
Okay. And so as soon as he came out of the initial stages of detox, you don't know this, but we went down. We called you.
It's Harpootlian. You can't testify.
Yeah, Harpootlian is testifying. It's not really a question. He's saying things that this witness couldn't possibly know about the defense team's movements at the time. And I've done a little research on Harpootlian by contacting multiple members of multiple state bars that have done business with him. And guess what? They all like him. All the lawyers love Harpootlian. He's like a good old guy. They love to go to a bar function, throw back a couple of drinks, swap stories. And, I've seen that conviviality work wonders with a jury. I don't know if that's working in this case. So, bottom line to you, Dr. Moroni, opioid expert, tell me about rehab. Because it seems like Murdaugh was pretty coherent when he talked to SLED.
The amount of detox you do in rehab that really punishes you is probably the first 2 to 3 days, where we're trying to find the right medicine to see. The big 3 or 4 things that happen in detox and rehab is you get hot and cold flashes. Your skin feels like it has snakes and ants crawling on it. We give you clonidine. The second thing is you get huge panic attacks and anxiety. Some places give you hydroxyzine, non-narcotic. Other places give you Ativan or Valium. It's Schedule 4. And then you get the nausea. You want to vomit. You feel like you're on the edge of the flu, or you got to run to the toilet. We give you Phenergan, promethazine to reduce the nausea. And one of the final things is insomnia. Your body's hyper, it's driven. Because while you're on opioids, you're chilled, you're numbed. That's what the opioids do. Even though you're not getting euphoria, they're depressants. People that do opioids are very, very special people. They in addiction, you go one of 2 ways. You either like uppers or you like downers. And if you're into opioids, the opioids bring you down. So you can't sleep. So when you're in withdrawal, you're on overdrive. So we can give you some trazodone, or we can give you some Seroquel, or maybe a little Ambien. Those are the 4 things. In 2 or 3 days, we probably have you back to where you can talk to people. You're not running to the bathroom. You don't have any accidents. You don't vomit your food. You're not having panic attacks. And after that, the medicine keeps you stable.
So I've been setting you up all along, Moroni. This is where I'm going. Number one, you've already told me that even on a high amount of opioids, an addict, if you're used to it, you built up a tolerance and you can function normally. In other words, go into your law office, have conversations, drive your car. You've just told me that if you're on opioids, you can also become numbed. So my theory, based on what you've told me, my conclusion is the night of the murders, he could function properly. He could lay out a plan and carry out the plan and then be numbed to what he was really doing, murdering his wife and son.
He could have been taking the OxyContin with a beer chaser to get into the mood.
That's true. Get in the mood. You don't want to do too much, like, because those Testament are dangerous to take. I think alcohol with it, but like you get like a nice little some beer, some wine, and you do your oxys, just like mellow out. You know what I'm saying? Keep it balanced.
To relax to get there, and that impaired thinking that comes with long-term opioid use doesn't mean you're slow. It means you may.
And I think there's people that have died off of that. I think. Let me see. I don't know. I think it's dangerous with Xanax. Oxycodone. I'm pretty sure with Xanax it's really dangerous to drink.
Isn't that how Heath Ledger died? Like a combo of opioids and alcohol or something?
I don't know. Probably. He did Batman, right? One of the Batman.
Yeah, he was a Joker.
The Joker. I feel like any prescription drug plus alcohol is not a good idea.
Nah. There's plenty you can just pop.
He's all
there's plenty you could drink with. But Oxy is one of those opioid ones are ones you shouldn't, and like Xanax, the benzodiazepines are really dangerous too. There's plenty of this shit. You pop a drink. These people be taking the meds and drinking, bro. Trust me.
I'm even afraid to take Tylenol and alcohol together.
What? You're tripping. It's actually probably not a good mix though, because that's the best way to take it. Is people take a shot and the med.
Jesus Christ.
May not be functioning higher.
Sorry, I was like, I'd be laid out.
Hours. So morally and ethically, you may not be activating those parts of your brain which lead you to criminal activity.
With me, Ann Emerson, senior investigative reporter, WCIV. I'm very anxious for our listeners and viewers to hear about the car data that mapped out Alex Murdaugh's movement the night of the double murders. Explain what happened.
Well, we got new data last Friday. They received new data that basically was looking at what GM OnStar data didn't have before. Now, this data is all, I think it was 4,800 data points that they didn't have before. And the state was able to crunch those numbers, put it on the timeline that they were already working on. And what it did was it solidified some things they didn't know and brought a little bit clarity to us where Alex Murdaugh was in his car. One of the very important parts is when he gets to Alameda the night of the murders, 9:22 to 9:43. We now know Shelley Smith, her assertion that he was there for 20 minutes is right on, because that's how long his car was. We also learned that he parked not in the parking lot of Alameda, but he actually parked near the wood line or near the outbuildings just past that parking lot. They were showing it to us on a map. Another very important data point that we got from GM in this new this new load of information was that when he got back to Moselle in the car, we know that he arrived at 10:05:57. We know that the 911 call was at 10:06:11. That's approximately anywhere, what is that, 14 to 20 seconds a little less than 20 seconds before he
That's
called
not enough time for him to go to the
and that's
kennel
very important.
and find their bodies. It sounds to me, Del Carson, based on what Ann Emerson just told us, 20 seconds have passed by the time he got back to Moselle and called 911. He didn't have time we were seeing that earlier, Del Carson, when we were looking at the opening and the shutting of the car door and what was going on. There didn't seem to be any time for him to go and discover the bodies and come back to the car based on the opening and the closing of the door so rapidly just before the 911 call. Remember that? And now what Ann Emerson is explaining, interpreting for us what was heard on the stand, was that he pulls into Moselle, the hunting lodge, and within just seconds, he's calling 911. He never got a chance to look at the bodies.
Well, the most damaging testimony that's appeared so far is that Maggie's cell phone was traveling 45 miles an hour until the same track that was taken by Alex, it was thrown out and stopped moving exactly where they found the phone.
Yes, that is damning. Guys, I want you to hear the way the jury heard it. In our Cut 7 about Murdaugh's car leaving Moselle the night of the murders and what Del Carson is describing, traveling along with Maggie.
I was joking about the alcohol and pills, okay, in case nobody got that. I'm getting a text message. It was a joke.
His cell phone. Listen.
So the orange dot, that's going to represent approximately where Maggie Murdaugh's phone was located the following day on June 8th, 2021.
All right, and do we have a time reference for the Suburban at this time?
We do. It's going to be 9:08:36 seconds, and it's showing a speed of 42 miles an hour.
Moving on to the next one. Tell the jury what this is.
In the grayish white looking box, you can still see the little circle where it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone location, and right under it's where the pinpoint's going to be. It's going to be 9:08:36, 42 miles an hour.
Next slide, 25. Slide 25.
The upper halfway portion of that box, you're going to see the circle again, the orange circle. That's going to be Maggie Murdaugh's phone. And at 9:08:42, we have the Suburban traveling approximately 45 miles an hour.
After passing that location, does the defendant's vehicle start to accelerate?
It does.
A while back, Chris McDonough, star of the Interview Room on YouTube, we were talking right here on a lunch break, and either you or I said, wow, I wish we had the ping data and the phone data that could match and put their phones together traveling when her phone was discarded. And lo and behold, it happened, Chris.
Yeah, exactly, Nancy. And I think collectively we were thinking this. And so, again, as an investigative process, it comes down to these minutia details here. These are situations where that GM data comes back. They put it through the CAS programs. Remember, we talked about Gladiator as well, a couple of weeks ago. These are the kind of programs. Welcome to the 21st century, where you can try to hide your digital footprint as much as possible. You can even be a trial lawyer like Murdaugh was. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes this type of information that says, hey, you forgot this because you didn't see it. And this is where, I think he realized again, and his team realized today, this is a real problem. I'm curious if SLED's not going to move now that this data's just come in, to start looking for the weapons in and around that area as well, now that they know his direct path.
You would hope that they've already done that. I mean, we used to walk rural roadways looking for that sort of thing for years.
This exact map, though, Dale, they've just gotten the evidence in the past couple of days. Remember, all of this evidence, as it lines up with the car tracking, has just come in. Hey, to Dr. Michelle Dupree, forensic pathologist, medical examiner, former detective, and author of Homicide Investigation Field Guide, even at the level of opioid addiction that he was at, as you heard described by Dr. Moroni, could he have been able to aim and fire the way he did?
Absolutely, Nancy. I think that a functioning drug addict or alcoholic, I mean, that's what it means. It means that they can still function relatively normally.
Got that perk limp to be able to. The shooting thing was kind of weird, but I guess the whole angle and trajectory, I guess, of the second shot.
When things like this are going on. I wanted to say something about this car data, though. It's not only that. Remember that there were 73 or 4 erasures on his phone that still showed up. And that's something that we have in investigation we call pertinent negatives. Who is going to take the time to erase 74 calls or texts from something? What is he trying to hide? And I think that's very telling, as well as all of this other data.
Chase.
No.
Possible.
Oh, still possible, right? CBS less than 5 minutes.
Out.
All right, we got 5 minutes. We got to hurry this up. We got 14 minutes left. Let's go through that.
Going back to school degree in just is great, but give. So whether you're saving for
his vehicle, his Suburban.
No pause.
So would he be able to have the coherent thought process to discard her phone?
I think it might not have been something that he could think about, like, well, this is going to be a problem, I need to do something, because you follow that and then you go, oh my God, no, I didn't do this. There's obviously many things he forgot to do and he tried to catch up on, but eventually the higher level functioning, because he's educated and he's a person of means, keeps him going. The function that's disturbing in substance use disorder, and that we say is the impaired thinking, is the moral and the ethical component that would lead to the criminal behavior. Because
so that's an excuse, right? That's an excuse.
Well, I think what you just said is
why they're going to use it. Yes, that's why they're going to use it. Is level functioning, because he's educated and he's a person of means, keeps him going. The function that's disturbing in substance use disorder, and that we say is the impaired thinking, is the moral and the ethical component that would lead to the criminal behavior. Because
so that's an excuse, right? That's an excuse.
Well, I think what you just said is
why they're going to use it. Yes, that's why they're going to use it.
But wouldn't you create that excuse for yourself if you're a defense attorney and you're trying to create the view that he was so out of whack on drugs? And the way you do that is you have him spending $50,000 a week on drugs. The person who knows the answer to this
why, yes.
Smith.
It's
Curtis Smith.
Even though these look like
Smith,
lies.
yes. I think Moroni said yes in answer to that question. Guys, I want to hear it one more time. Christine, do you mind playing 7? Now that we've hashed through it, I want to hear it again with a deeper appreciation for the evidentiary value of it. I'll catch 7.
So the orange dot, that's going to represent approximately where Maggie Murdaugh's phone was located the following day on June 8th, 2021.
Fuck this shit. You ready?
Yes, Chase.
Let me do the redirect real quick. Damn it. Why isn't that updating?
During that burglary.
Okay, I'm moving you guys over on YouTube.
And then
I gotta switch to Discord speed.
It was Orange County Sheriff that
we gotta hurry up. Go.
Over, and then this vehicle took off. We've been up to 120 miles an hour at points on